So very good evening to all my viewers and fellow educators. Welcome to Get It Talk, India's largest talk show on education by eminent personalities and great educators. Welcome to the another wonderful and interactive panel discussion on education in this pandemic time by great speakers and dedicated educators on the insights of pandemic, the unwanted companion but a great teacher. I am Sudhir Kumar, your host for today on Disruptive Education Facebook Live session with Global Education and Training Institute. For today's panel discussion, our guests for today's evening are Mrs. Meenu Bhargav, she is a teacher's trainer and counseling psychologist. Professor Harsh Bhargav, adjunct faculty, VVISM Hyderabad, and former Commodore Indian Navy. And Mr. Sunil Keswani, scholar and trainer, life skill coach. So we are totally honored to have you all on today's platform. So since the start of 2020, the pandemic has swept over the entire world, and with all its negativity at one end, on the other side, it's a case for learning and change we have never even witnessed before. So it's a paradigm shift in human life priorities, education, and other industries. So whether we like it or not, the pandemic is here to stay. So for better understanding of the topic, we'll open the discussion with Mr. Sunil Keswani. So, sir, would like to know that how has pandemic affected our life as an individual.
Okay. देखिए, the Indian tradition has a concept of Atithi Devo Bhav, where the guest equals God, and God is considered to be a great companion. But this pandemic entering our homes and our lives has now become the most unwanted guest, जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं बिन बुलाए मेहमान. जाने कब ये यहां से जाएंगे. No one anticipated this, and how long it will stay, we don't know. The biggest certainty of life is the uncertainty. But once we accept our existence, and in this love story called life, then you have to accept that in this life there would be lots of drama, action, ups and downs. Be prepared. Because only dead people don't have any problems. Because if you look across to the centuries, or you can say the past centuries, every generation has faced lots and lots of challenges and dangers. I would put it this way. Over the years, only the shape of those dangers have changed. Now, of course, these changes or challenges have become more sophisticated and even perhaps invisible, like the one which you are facing today in the form of pandemic. Charles Darwin, in his theory of evolution, which we have studied in our historical books as well, was very prominent in saying that it is the survival of the fittest. But in today's context, if you look over, it is not only the survival of the fittest, but it is perhaps the survival of the quickest. How fast we can adapt to the new situation or the new normal is the key. Every incident, every adversity, or every experience, I'll put it this way, is making you strong mentally and physically. It builds your immunity. I would put it this way, it's a case of capacity building. So, in this pandemic, the new normal, it's not only just wearing the mask or observing the social distance or sanitizing or even wearing the protective gear. It's all about mindscape because dealing with the fear and especially the unknown fear, anxiety, adversity, and making priorities in terms of your life, your relationship, and even family, this is good. And even to the extent of accepting our collective mistakes for which each one of us is paying the price. And that price is absolutely a heavy price. As Homo sapiens, during and after this pandemic, we will never be the same again. It is similar to, I'll put it this way, those who have really survived the Holocaust of the concentration camps in Germany in the Second World War, or even those who survived the World War One and Two, or even in our country, those who have survived the Great Partition, they have never been the same. They have changed forever, absolutely forever. Because if you really ask me, scars don't leave so easily. They're not healed so easily because prolonged period of isolation is a kind of darkness within, like the one which you find in the Arctic or the North region. It is a sheer cold of nearly 6 months night. It is of a similar kind. And one very particular point which I need to highlight is there is also a case of shadow pandemic beyond COVID-19, which is spreading very fast in this world and are leading to a tremendous de-stress position led by anxiety, fear, or doubts. And this is what is affecting our mental health. So I would say mental health still remains very elusive. That's where a vital need to remain in a positive frame of mind and seek counseling. Please understand, emotions, according to me, are sophisticated biochemical algorithms, a new word coin, which can be very fatal to destroy a person. But once handled tactfully, they can be a great source of upliftment for a person. Because during a challenging at times, there is definitely a need to show a collective maturity of helping each other, not only at the individual level, but also at the macro level, maybe the society, maybe the community, or even at the country level. I'm sure with the fortitude or courage, we shall overcome this. Because nothing is here to stay, everything is here to pass. वो कहते हैं ना कि every dark cloud has a silver lining. So I would put it this way. In this challenging situation, what What can be the new learning? What can be the coping mechanism to adopt and newer opportunities which we can explore? I'm sure our worthy co-panelist would like to throw some light on that. Thank you. Ji.
Sure, sir. Totally agree with you on this. And this is a great insight which we have received from your end. And this time actually a very testing time, and we are facing a lot of issues. But we have been hearing stories wherein people are actually fighting the odds, and they are coming up with many good
Correct.
innovations, many good spirit, and many good intentions. So, from Professor Bhargav now, once we face with adversity, all of us behave very differently, right? So we now request Mr. Bhargav, that pandemic has affected not only individual but also organizations and institutions. So we would request you to give some live example that how organizations and institution in India have coped up with the uncertainties due to pandemic.
Yeah. Th- Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you very much. And thank you, uh, Global Education and Training Institute, for giving us the opportunity. So we'll take off from where Mr. Sunil gave us. And he mentioned 2 points. And he said that dealing with pandemic, it was not just about dealing with it, but speed of execution. And secondly, he said that pandemic has pulled us or taught us to be strong. So here in the armed forces, we have an old saying that when the going gets tough, the tough get going, right? So when
Right.
we saw individuals learn to cope with an uncertainty like the pandemic, similarly the organizations, whether it's a business organization or an educational institution or even the next door kabadiwala. So from our observation, my personal observation in last few weeks, I will share with you few live examples how these small or big organizations have coped with the pandemic. The first example I'll take is the kabadiwala. So as we all know, kabadiwala comes and collects old newspapers, bottles, cans, and then he takes it to his small shop, and then he resells it to the factories who recycle the items, and in the bargain earns little bit of commission, and that's how his business runs. So what happened in pandemic? No newspapers, nothing to sell, so his revenue came zero. Few hundred meters from my house in Secunderabad here, I saw this one kabadiwala whose two sons thought of an innovation to deal with pandemic. And all that they did was to hire a tempo, go to the fruits mandi, the wholesale market, and got fruits. And on his just outside his kabadi shop, they laid out a mat and started selling fruits. I've seen them in last 6 weeks and the way they have prospered. So just see the innovation for a small time business, how to deal with pandemic. Second example, neighborhood tailoring shop. So tailors also went out of business. And I saw this tailor the other day, he and his wife using the same shop, same display stand, instead of putting the clothes that they have stitched, they now displayed vegetables which they got once again from a wholesaler and started selling. So small way, but dealing with uncertainty. Uncertainty about customers, uncertainty about profits, uncertainty about acts of nature, and pandemic is one such uncertainty which came to us. Third example I'll take, and this is once again from the world of business, but larger business, one of the largest paint manufacturers in India. So most companies which went slow during the pandemic had no revenues, no customers. They had to think how to reduce the number of employees or how to cut down the cost on human resource. But this paints company not only retained every employee, but increased their salary by 10%. Many of you may have read about it. We are not here to promote any company, so I'm not giving out the names. But what does it teach us? It tells us that this company valued human resource as the key asset. And how did they manage to increase their salary when there was no sales? From the reserves. And why would any company use the reserves in a state of uncertainty like the pandemic? Because they value human resource, and they did it. Next example I'll take from a chain of hotels in the country. Now, as you know, hotel and travel industry is one of the worst hit during pandemic. The bookings got cancelled, no bookings came, no banquet bookings, and therefore hotels, it was like putting your shutters down. So this chain of hotels, what it did, it went to IT companies in big cities where their hotels were there and told them that, look, you are saying work from home, but there are many individuals, especially bachelors, who were staying together in rented apartments and they had no bandwidth to work from home. The place was not hygienic or sanitized, and they didn't have 24 by 7 connectivity. This hotel offered to the IT company that we will give you our premises 24 by 7, we'll give you accommodation, we'll give you bandwidth, uninterrupted power supply, and we'll make you two offers. One on a daily rental basis and the other on a monthly basis. And can you imagine, with this small innovation, they were able to, in those 3 months of lockdown, actually increase their sales 3 times compared to last year. One more example from hospitals and healthcare. We all read stories lately about patients not able to get beds or healthcare from hospitals because they were overloaded. Government hospitals were dedicated to isolation wards and so on. Private hospitals later on were allowed, but private hospitals also initially faced problems of revenue. So lately, more than one hospital has devised an innovative way to deal with the pandemic. They have created home suraksha plans for mildly affected and severely affected patients. They still stay at home and they are monitored through telemedicine. Medicines are delivered at home, and the biggest challenge that you don't get a bed in the hospital. So if you subscribe to this Suraksha plan, you get a bed on priority. You get ambulance 24 by 7 availability. And such a level of reassurance that these plans have been very well subscribed. And from the patient side, just imagine the insecurity which was happening in all the cities. Now you feel okay by paying that amount, at least you are assured of decent care while still being at your own home. I'll take one last example from the world of education, since Global Education and Training Institute and all the fellow teachers who are listening to this telecast. So, in management education, 2-year full time program, internship during the summer is one of the major contributors to transform the learning and the behavior of MBA students. So this year, thanks to pandemic, the summer internship could not be undertaken except for very few, which could be worked from remote, and therefore the entire academic calendar was disturbed. So one institution here, what they did in an innovative manner, all MBA programs also require the students to write a dissertation towards the end. So what this institution did, swapped the dissertation with the internship. So summertime was utilized for preparing, researching, writing the dissertation, making a defense, evaluation by internal and external panels, including industry. And that is where another innovation took place. Normally to get, examiners from industry, it's always a challenge because they are very busy people, professionals in the industry. But here, because of pandemic, work from home, we could get their attention, and this program went through successfully, with the result that the second year, the final year of the program started on time, of course online, because the government has not yet permitted physical reopening of colleges. And we hope that by the time we reach the last semester, situation would improve and internship would be resumed. So what are the learnings from these examples as far as the pandemic is concerned? And this is what I would like to summarize. So we talked of dealing with adversity and converting an adversity into opportunity. And you saw all these examples from a small kabadiwala right up to a paint manufacturer and a chain of hotels. Role of innovation, the key, the speed with which you act, as Mr. Sunil, my co-panelist, had mentioned, very important. And if I may say, pandemic, the first alphabet P, has taught us patience and perseverance. A has taught us the attitude to remain positive, as Mr. Sunil also said. The alphabet N has told us to respect nature. And we had so many stories coming, so many WhatsApp posts saying that pandemic has told us, yes, nature is supreme and don't destroy or degrade nature. Alphabet D, determination, goes without saying. E, and I think all of you will agree, has taught us, pandemic has taught us what are essentials in life and what are not essentials. M, of course, using the mask for safety. I, innovation, as we mentioned. And C, the last alphabet, care and concern for fellow human beings. And I'm reminded of what we learned in childhood, that the whole world, the universe is one family, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. So with that, I would close and with a small quotation that I remember, that I have not yet to meet a strong person who had an easy past. So that is it. And pandemic has certainly made us stronger. With those words, thank you and Jai Hind. And over to Sudhir. Thank you.
So, thank you so much, sir, for such wonderful words and sharing such great stories. And the innovation, which is the best part of this pandemic, even in education, I think that Mrs. Minu would also agree on this, that we have seen a revolutionary change whatever we are expecting in next 5 to 6 years, we are seeing in just 2.5 months. The schooling system has been moved online like this, and teachers actually adapted it, and they are imparting classes on a regular basis. So this is a very nice thing we have observed. So, sir, you have talked about essential, Professor Bhargav. So, in essential, I think that we should include education as well. So, government is somehow trying to take some steps towards it, but still we are lacking in the execution. So, what do you suggest that how teachers and the school bodies should operate in order to make it more effective, and rather than make it more interactive even in the online setting?
Yes, thank you, Sudhir. This is a challenge we are personally taking, and I'm also teaching a course this semester to our MBA students. See, the biggest challenge of online is the degree of self motivation for the learners. And computer based learning has been there for at least 2 decades now. And we have seen that if somehow we can overcome this challenge and maintain the motivation in the learner, and how can that be brought about? One part is by involving every single student present in the online class by sharing their personal experiences. It's not that students don't have life experiences, right? So, if we can encourage that and also restrict the number of participants for online sessions, if it's a large class, 50 students, then barely you can give chance to everybody in that one session. So, I would like some of the schools I like, they are restricting the number of students online to not more than 25 or 30, and then you are able to give attention. The students feel empowered that yes, they are being listened to, they are coming online, their faces are being seen by others, and this is a small thing, and then they feel encouraged to participate. So experiential aspect, if we can bring about even in online learning. Can I give one example here?
Definitely, sir. Definitely, please.
Yeah. So you see, we have all seen this movie Uri, which was on that attack. So what in our college we did, one day the entire college, that means 200 students, we booked the entire, Cineplanet, the IMAX here, and 200 of them saw the movie. Next day in the class, we ran a live case study on the movie. And then we asked each student turn by turn which clip or which incident, which dialogue in the movie you remember. Okay. For example, where the hero is actually selecting his team, which will go, those 8 people who will go into attack, and he's asking them that what is it that we need. So somebody said, courage, determination, sharp shooting capabilities. Then he says, जंग ऐसी जंग जीतने के लिए not only साहस but जज्बात की जरूरत है. Remember? Now, that is telling us all aspects which we teach in the class about emotional strength, right? So, small live situation, and if used for experiential learning, and then it goes down very well with the participants. So, I would suggest that is one way to do that. Thank you.
Very true, sir. And yes, experiential learning actually engages the people in, actively in the classroom. So that's a very nice suggestion which you have given to our viewers. So over to you, Meenu ma'am. That when we face adversities, we all of us behave differently, and it is happening with everyone. People are losing job. They are keeping themselves distant from their loved ones due to quarantine and everything. So, how to deal with such kind of situation? How to deal with adversities in our life these days? Minimum, can you hear us?
Uh,
So thank you, my co-panelist. Say is she tried sorry. Okay. What I can
Ma'am,
say is शिकायतें नहीं शुक्रिया कीजिए जितना आपको मिला है शायद बहुत लोग दुनिया में ऐसे हैं जिनको उतना भी नहीं मिला. So adversity, the difficult time, are setbacks. They always come as a teacher. Yes, yes, please. Yes, Sudhir.
nothing, ma'am. Please go on.
Can I continue?
Minu, ma'am, I think that there is some
Okay.
connection issue from your end.
So
We
what
are
I
not
was
getting your
saying
voice
was
very
that
clearly.
yes, every adversity comes as a teacher and teaches many things to us. Like this pandemic, if I talk of, yes, teachers have been warriors here. Why I call them warriors is because within 9 and 10 days, they went to Google tutorials and learned how to do that, MS Team, how to do that, and Zoom, learning Zoom technology. And no, but connection.
Minuji, just give me 1 second. I'm trying to reconnect your stream once again. Maybe after that you will be more audible, right? Give me a second. Hello, Minuji, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you very well.
Sure, ma'am. Please continue. I think that latency has been resolved now. Please.
Okay, thank you so much. So what I was talking was, yes, teachers. Within 9 and 10 days, they learned so much and they started taking virtual classes. If I talk of resources, today, we have abundance of resources. You talk of audiobooks, you talk of ebooks, you talk of anything, Google collaborating with CBSE to, give classes to even children sitting remote. Also the cable, the radio pathshalas, the, Intel, it collaborated with Times of India to give these online classes to students. So many new things have happened and it is for good. Also, what I would like to say is, smooth roads never make skillful drivers. And smooth seas never make skillful sailors. And clear sky never makes clear sky never makes skillful pilot. So adversity always gives us many teachers. We learn to adapt as we did this time with this pandemic. Also, progress isn't possible without the change. If people don't change in their mind, then nothing can be changed. So we changed our minds. We started working online. People, not only they were working from home, but they were working for home also. Another big change which we saw was that, schools also realized that not every problem can be solved by degrees or by money or, status. Nothing. What I realized was that there are situations in life where you are not able to change the situation, and then what you have to do? You have to change yourself, change you. So what we did, परिस्थिति ना बदल सके तो मनोस्थिति को बदल डाले। तो हमने सबने अपनी मनोस्थिति को बदला। हम अभी तक जो मेटीरियलिस्टिक रेस में थे, we were running for materialistic pleasures, but now we started giving priority to health and hygiene. We gave priority to spending time with family. We also gave priority to explore our talents. So many good things happened with this COVID-19. Also, in this, if I talk of, mostly we are talking of improving IQ in children. That why, so many suicides? Why so many suicides in coaching institute and IIT? They are having good IQ, but the reason being that our education system is very marks focused. We teach IQ to students. I mean, all cognitive development. But if I talk of SQ, social quotient, if I talk of EQ, emotional quotient, if I talk of AQ, that is adversity quotient, I don't think we prepare our children for these things. Trouble-free life never gives us opportunity to grow nor to know ourselves. Only when adversities come to meet, we are some एक बार ना दो सेल्समैन को एक ऐसे कंट्री में भेजा गया जहां पे लोग जूते नहीं पहनते थे। अब क्या हुआ कि एक सेल्समैन ने तो कहा कि भाई यहाँ कोई जूते नहीं पहनता तो बिजनेस का कोई स्कोप नहीं है मेरे लिए, पर दूसरे बिजनेसमैन ने कहा यहाँ तो मेरे लिए बिजनेस की स्कोप ही स्कोप है, क्योंकि अभी कोई जूते नहीं पहनता, पर यस इफ आई विल स्टार्ट मेकिंग शूज देन थिंग्स विल इम्प्रूव। सो इट इज ऑन अस how we see the situation. What I can say is that these ships, they are not made to stand at the harbor. What is the role of a ship? Ship has to sail, ship has to explore the sea, ship has to discover. And even if the ship is not seeing, in sight, it's not in the sight, its destination, but still it will travel and reach its destination. So same with us, we are not here to stop. We have to trust our journey. We have to keep the hope alive. What happens is, if one door is closed by God, then don't keep banging on the door. What we have to do is, we have to see for a window. Maybe that behind the door there is something which is not meant for you. So you have to see how you can make that failure, setback into opportunity. As teachers or as parents, if I talk, everybody takes failure as a very negative. Everybody fails. I mean, some people fail in their relationship, some people fail in learning driving, some people are not good cooking, But what we have to see is that yes, the failure is not bad, adversity is not bad, it can be a very great teacher. But if you see it rightly, if you see that how to convert it into opportunity, you are ready to change, you are ready to adapt. So yes, this is what are my thoughts on this, how to deal with this adversity.
Uh, you have shared some wonderful stories and examples, and I'm totally agree with you on this that we have abundance of resources. It's just that how we can use it efficiently and effectively. So, Sunil sir, I want to know from you that we have a lot of resources, a lot of free books and tutorials and courses available online. How do you suggest that teachers should be learning, and how they would pick and take out the time for these upskilling thing in these days?
Okay. I think, Sudhir, what you have really pointed out is absolutely a fact. It is not a constraint of resources, it is a constraint of resourcefulness in the mind. I
Right,
mean,
sir.
we are never short of resources. It's just a resourceful mind that what we need is. I'll put it this way, जैसे प्रोफेसर हर्ष साहब ने जो बात लिखी और आपके सामने रखी है, this online structure was anyhow in the making. Maybe it was slightly at a slower pace. We were expecting to take it a full stream shape, maybe by the fall 2020 or let's say 2021. Now, suddenly, when it comes to you as a gift or as a superimposed, I would say, structure on you back in March 2020, that progress which were happening has somehow now been progress preponed. So that is what has caught us by surprise. No one feels bad about this, what we have shifted from offline to online. Because if you see the two positive parts, number one is that earlier this great social divide which was happening between those who have and those who don't, now somehow that is going away. Today, geography has become history. Oh, okay, not that the subject has changed. What I'm trying to say is now the geographical boundaries don't hold any significance. If you are having a
Yes.
mobile connection with you or this Wi-Fi connection, whether laptop or a mobile, you can be operational. So this has really helped to remove that disparity which was existing earlier as a social divide. Number two thing which has happened and which the teachers should be very grateful to the fact is, and especially to the students who were differently abled, now this online education has really made the education in true sense all inclusive. Do you get the word? All inclusive, which means irrespective of the background of a person, now a student can participate in the whole education process. What is only required by our teachers is to be innovators, engagement. So I understand, like for me, like for you, even these small glitches which we are facing in this program, that's a part of the whole making of this program. So none of us, including our four people who are in this program, and even to our worthy audience which is watching this program, for all of us, it's a new beginning. For all of us, it's a pandemic of a kind which none of us has faced. So no need to carry it heavy in your mind that I'm not very tuned to maybe these media channels or I face these problems and I do not know what students may be inclined for or not. Just doesn't matter. All of us are in the same boat at the same time, and we all have started from March 2020. So it's a race of a new kind,
Exactly.
or a new innovation, or a new excitement. Who knows? The best in all of us is perhaps yet to come. Ji.
Totally agree with you on this, sir. And that you have talked about the opportunities and the new, dimension which has opened. But that also comes with the challenge, because I have been interacting with the teachers and the authorities every now and then. So suppose in a family there are two kids, they have to attend their online classes. Their parents they have to do work from home, few mobile phones, one laptop, and now they have to use those resources very effectively and limited number of data. So these problem actually comes in the picture sometimes, And similarly happening with the teachers, because earlier they were away from home, so they somehow have to put focus only on the classroom education. Now they are investing time at home. They have their own kids, family members who they have to take care of, and they again have to put their almost entire attention in the classroom till 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And in work from home, that tradition, the work has been doubled somehow. Even I have faced the same thing. So, what is the solution of it? How to take care of the working hours? How to manage that work and life balance in this setting? So, Professor
See,
Bhargav also can answer
yeah,
that thing. Yeah, he's
I'll
smiling.
just
I think that he
I'll
knows the answer.
I'll just put one point, then I'll shift to Professor
Definitely,
Harsha.
definitely, sir.
One point to be
Definitely,
understood,
sir.
Sudhi, today in today's context is I was hearing from a very worthy friend of mine just now in the morning itself. So what he was referring to is today it's a context not of work-life balance. It is more like integrated work life. Yeah,
Hmm.
integrated work life. Because with all the timings going heavier, and now we are all sitting at home, mind you, it is not only work from home, it is also work for home.
Exactly, it is. It is actually, and
so,
even work
so
off home as well.
yeah, work. So setting priorities and maybe disciplining ourselves. I'm sure Professor Hershey can throw more light on this issue, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Sudhir. Very, very, very relevant point. And I will just share personal experience. So now, my son and family who live in Chennai, and he works in a IT design company. And this work from home. Normally, when he used to go, then he would return at whatever point of time every day. Now, this work from home, he was not available to the family even after the late hours. So one day I was asking my daughter-in-law, I said, so how is it now? At least you see him at home. And he said, Dad, it is worse than what it was. Now we don't even see him during the entire day, because when when he sleeps past midnight, and then by the time he gets up, we are all busy on our own work from home. So yes, it is a challenge. It is a challenge. But as Mr. Sunil said, we all know how to sort of prioritize our lives. And one aspect there is that, yes, we must recognize, and I always say, family comes first, right? And that aspect, if it is maintained, I think whether there are elders or children in the house, and we give due attention to them, then plan your work around the availability of other resources. And I don't think then it goes bad. And few small things that on the dining table, nobody brings any gadget. Okay. So, and nobody sees any gadget, including TV. You spend some quality time. I think families are together more. And there are plus points, certainly. But yes, you are not able to go out to play any game or sport. And a guy like me who's very fond of hiking and swimming and golfing, none of the three I can do. And so you have to adjust. And that is what we have learned, all of us, to do that. But in a positive way, I would say. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
In fact, I would like
So
to add
definitely, and
one
you
more.
made a very good point.
In fact, I would
Yes,
like to
yes,
add
yes,
one
please,
more
please.
point to what Professor Harsab has said. I totally endorse this point, and there's a shift in the priorities. Because today, what I personally feel, discipline is in fact even more important than motivation. Factually speaking, motivation can fluctuate like a Bombay Stock Exchange graph on a daily basis and on a daily movement. But once we are talking about discipline as an act, sir, I can tell you from my experience that is a much, much bigger motivation, and that will last for the entire billings. The entire billings. So that is good that if we can really implement that discipline part, although it is challenging, but I'm sure it is not that very difficult. And we need to understand that today we are confined at home. Fine, it may be the government orders or it may be the need of the hour. But factually speaking, we are not at home or having a feeling of isolation. if you can shift from a feeling of isolation to a solitude, there's a world of difference to what you feel at home. Because if you feel isolated, if you feel lonely, so then that boredom will surround you. But if you feel you are really in solitude and it is not a majburi, it is in fact a zaruri, the whole mindset changes. Oh,
Very well.
Yes, definitely. It's a zaruri. It's not a majburi anyhow, because I have been living alone in Delhi for last 4 months now and confined in, two-bedroom apartment. So yesterday I was even thinking that it's been 4 months and I have been in one place, because I am a person who, again, just like Professor Bhargav, would love to go out and interacting with people and meeting new people, interacting with them and giving trainings. So I am totally habitual of these things, but I totally understand that I have to stay at one place. I have to take care of my own health in such a situation. So, like you have mentioned about discipline, so I like to ask from Meenuji that, ma'am, discipline again, as sir has mentioned, keeping up the motivation and the positive habits, these all are like, the stock exchange graph goes up when you are, saw some video or listen to someone, and whenever you stuck with some issues or face some kind of challenges from your job or from your family member, you somehow loses it. So how to keep a nice balance of both in such situation?
Yes, I agree with Sunil that yes, motivation plays the role, but it is very temporary. But discipline plays greater, because discipline is one thing. If you're organized, if you're planning well, then things work out better for you. I would also like to say that uh, earlier we were more disciplined, what I feel, than our children. And I just don't talk of discipline or punctuality, just this, but discipline is of word, discipline is of action. So discipline also has many relative terms. So we have to be disciplined in many, many ways. And another thing here I would like to point out is that, many times our degrees don't solve our problems. And what solves our problem is if we are disciplined in exercising, if we are disciplined in going for prayers, if we are doing meditation. So all these things, if we are very regular with them and we have good friends, we socialize, you know. So at times, the problems in life are solved by the love of our family, the emotional support that we get, and our discipline. Health and wellness, if I talk of, so four pillars are very, very important. One is your physical health. So, take care of it by doing exercises, meditation, and all that. The second is mental toughness, which comes with meditation, yoga, and prayer, and all that. And third thing is sound sleep, which is very, very necessary to keep yourself healthy. And be positive, because your immune system, it correlates with your emotional well-being. So if you are in good emotional well-being, that is, you are having a good positive thoughts, feeling, then your immunity will be high. And here again and again we have been talking that in pandemic, you don't need to see news too many times, because somewhere these uncertainties create fear in you. And if that fear overpowers you, then it becomes very bad for you. In adversities in life, we need to become critical thinkers. We need to think that today the situation will not change, but if we are being patient, then what are we gaining? And if we are, being very restless, only or being very tense or very anxious or going into depression, then what cost do we pay? So at times, people who go in depression, the heavy cost has to be paid by the family members, their productivity suffers. So what I can say is that yes, these days I thought of, the education system needs to change. We need to give life skills education to children, character education to children. We need to build inner strengths in children. Swami Vivekanand very rightly said, Vinamra bano, Shaktishali bano, Sahasi bano. That is the real aim of education. Education without a character is like a bird without wings. So I really want to work more and more in the area of education and bring a real holistic development in children. Developing them physically, mentally, socially, emotionally, and even spiritually.
Yeah, true.
Very true, ma'am, and absolutely right that we have to look all the aspect and physically, emotionally, and the most important mentally these days. So today we have covered a lot of things, and we have got some great insights from
Can
Professor
you hear me,
Bhargav.
Sudhir?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Hello. Yes, ma'am, we
Hello.
can hear you. We can hear you, ma'am. Hello,
Yeah, I think the voice is not clear.
ma'am, we can hear you.
I can't.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Sunil, I think that we should conclude the session now. So
Okay.
today we have heard about lot many things and some great inspirational stories which we have got in this pandemic situation. Professor Harsh has shared lot many new things, new
Okay,
innovation which
thank
we
you.
are seeing, and we are witnessing
So,
a huge change in the surrounding, and hopefully we would get some good insights and positive outcomes. I think Mini ma'am getting a lot late.
I could not
And she's
question.
not able to hear
Yeah.
probably because of the
Yes,
connectivity.
Yeah,
even the
so
voice is
can
transmitting
you
late.
please repeat your question?
She,
Yeah. So Devjit,
she's,
please continue.
she's unable to. Yeah. Go ahead.
Ma'am, actually, I was not asking any question. I was just sharing the summary of the session that today we have shared lot many good insights and wonderful stories and the inspirational stories and the examples around the society. And we learned about the importance of mental well-being, about the discipline, and how to keep our sanity intact in this tough time. So, with this, I would like Professor Harsh Bhargav to conclude this session with one last message to our viewers and the educators who are actually watching this video. Sir.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, Sudeep. When we carried out the operation in Sri Lanka many years ago, so the
Mm-hmm,
formation,
mm-hmm.
the formation that was responsible, and their motto was "Dash on regardless." So, which sums up our dealing with the pandemic. Pandemic is there to stay. So, regardless of pandemic, our life must go on. We must continue to care for each other. We must continue to support each other. And each other, I am meaning not just human beings in one enclave or school or institution, but the whole world together. And we are seeing the impact. Pandemic sees no borders, and pandemic has permeated all boundaries. And therefore, I would say, dash on regardless.
Very well said, sir. I'm totally impressed with this. And definitely, it's our responsibility to take care of our environment, not only our family members or the country or the citizens, entire world, including the nature. So thank you for sharing such kind words and such inspirational stories. So all the viewers, please do share this video to all your teachers and the students who really want to say this. It's a great insight. We have the great speakers who shared our wonderful wisdom today. So till then, stay home, stay safe. We'll back again. Namaste.
Thank you.